In Russia, a car bombing has turned into a murder investigation. The daughter of a key Putin ally was killed in the weekend blast.
It comes as we approach the 6-month anniversary of the war in Ukraine. It's this Wednesday, a milestone that coincides with the country's Independence Day. NBC News correspondent Josh Letterman has the latest.
Investigators say the car bomb that killed the daughter of one of President Putin's allies may have been a contract killing. Eyewitness video showing what's believed to be the SUV Daria Dugina was driving engulfed in flames. Her father, Alexander Dugin, appears to be on the scene, visibly distraught. Russian authorities say she was likely murdered, a bomb placed under her seat. The question is why? Russian state-run media citing witnesses saying her father decided last minute to travel in a different vehicle and may have been the target himself. Alexander Dugin has been called Putin's brain, one of Russia's most influential ultranationalists, whose right-wing views found their way into Putin's speeches, including his staunch support for invading Ukraine. Views echoed by his daughter, seen on state TV on Thursday for the last time. She says people in the West are living in a dream, and they need to be nourished by this war. Russia's foreign ministry speculated that Ukraine may have killed her, but no evidence of that has emerged. Ukraine's government denies any involvement. An ex-Russian politician and Putin critic claimed responsibility on behalf of a previously unknown group called the National Republican Army. His claim couldn't be verified.
On one level, you'd think that the Ukrainians have the most reason to dislike and despise Dugin. But on the other hand, I mean, this is no small feat.
Fears of retaliation in a country already on high alert as Ukraine prepares to mark 6 months of war on Wednesday, coinciding with its Day of Independence. President Zelensky warning Russia may be planning something particularly cruel to ruin the occasion. Ukraine's second-largest city will impose a round-the-clock curfew on a bittersweet Independence Day.
President Biden spoke with European leaders from the UK, Germany, and France today about resolving the crisis at Europe's largest nuclear power plant in Zaporizhzhia, Ukraine. The big focus was on preventing more military operations there, but the White House says the leaders are also pressing for UN inspectors to access the site as soon as possible. Josh Letterman, NBC News, Dnipro, Ukraine.
Let's get more on this with Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis. He's a senior fellow for military expert for defense priorities. Colonel, thank you so much for joining us this morning. So I want to start off by asking you about this car bomb that Josh just told us about here, killed the daughter of a key Putin ally. As we heard there, Moscow has speculated that Ukraine could be behind it. Ukraine has denied that. But I'm just wondering, what do you make of this attack? Could it have any impact on the war?
Yeah, it absolutely could. And look, there's no one's going to know for sure what happened or who did it until a thorough investigation is done. But I can assure you that just from a cursory look at Russian media, they already are convinced who did it. And really, the facts won't even matter to them. And it will definitely be used by the nationalist versions of people in Russia who will support the war to say, look, this is the dastardly deed. What they're calling it is a terrorist attack by the special services of Ukraine. And again, for their perception, it won't matter who actually did it because that's who's going to get blamed. And this could actually increase support for the war within certain portions of Russia. And I think that's what they're going to try to use it for.
Now, Colonel, Wednesday marks 6 months since this war began. I mean, there don't seem to be many signs that it's ending soon. On Friday, the U.S. approved an additional $775 million in military aid. Now, I know you've previously said that military aid, first of all, can't reverse the tide of the war, and then also that sanctions are harming us more than Russia. Walk us through those statements, what you mean by that, and what you do think it will take to end this war.
Yeah, there's a couple of issues that bother you. We have to separate the emotion and our preferences and desires from what's actually happening on the ground. And as someone who's actually fought in large-scale armored conflict, I can tell you I have a pretty good understanding of exactly what is needed to have a successful military operation in an armored conflict. And right now, when you look at the sum total of all the weapons that the West has given or promised, they really aren't even a fraction, maybe 10, 12% of what would be needed to have a legitimate shot at stopping Russia and then driving them back. And today, even this latest package you talked about here, when you look at what's in it, it's a lot of ammunition, which is necessary, but only 16 actually artillery pieces of the small 105 millimeter variety. So all of these together are not going to allow Ukraine to push them back, but it will slow down Russia's advance. But after 6 months, we've seen that Russia has a methodical relentless drive to the west, and so far it hasn't been stopped.
We're also watching the situation around this nuclear power plant in Zaporizhia. Now there have actually been reports of shelling in a nearby city, Nikopol, over the weekend. Now, despite calls for military restraint around this area, we're still seeing that. How concerned are you by these reports of fighting near a nuclear facility?
Well, I'm very concerned about that, and that's the reason why you see that the leaders of France, Germany, England, and the United States were talking about it just yesterday, because they recognize that if anything happens, and again, it doesn't even matter who did it, because there's conflicting reports of who's actually conducting some of this back and forth shelling. If it strikes this nuclear power plant and there's a breach of the reactors, this stuff could trail over into NATO territory and cause damage there. And then there's going to be some real questions about how does Article 5 apply here, and could this expand the war? And that would be catastrophe for everyone. I can assure you no one would win if that happens, and I'm very worried about it.
An important thing to be watching out for. Colonel Davis, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.